Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Natsu Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about My Awkward Senpai Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, I believe it was a typhoon is about to hit ground, and obviously, the weather's getting pretty bad. It's getting there, but it could obviously get much worse and expected to get much worse. So it's kind of like the reports are like, hey, everybody stay home. And initially you have Kanoa debating it because she's like, well, they say that, but I have so many things that need to be done. There's stuff I can only do in the office. Plus there's like some meetings today that were about like finalization, maybe not even finalizations, but showing off some of the collab materials between like for the Maid Cafe stuff. But then she's also thinking to herself, wait, but then, like, Kamigawa, she knows as a newbie, he's going to feel the need to come into work, and she doesn't want him to do that. At the very least, she's like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into work. We're going to do a little bit of work, and then I'm going to convince him to go home early. That was her goal of this episode, and it seems like every time she has a goal set in her mind, sometimes she gets it right, sometimes she doesn't. We're only a few episodes into the series, but she immediately ate her food, got ready. She's got her boots that are like water resistant, for rainy weather. And she's got a towel and she leaves and miraculously ends up forgetting like a very important thing on a rainy day, that being her umbrella. When she actually gets to work, though, she realizes that most of the office is working from home, which I think speaks volumes. But like I said, I think that shows the difference between Kanoa and maybe a lot of other people. She's very like hardworking and puts forth all. And once again, Kamigawa probably just inadvertently feels like as the newbie, he kind of isn't really in a position to. I mean, I think personality-wise, Kamigawa would come into work regardless, rookie or not. But I think maybe he feels like there's underlining pressure to, well, I am a rookie, so I should come into work. There's also the other added aspect of, because he is who he is, he automatically assumes that Kanoa was going to come into work. So it's like, oh, if my senpai is going to come in and work, why wouldn't I? Because, I mean, they're the only ones in their department that show up, like, are working in the office. But we see they're not the only ones in the building, because there's a few people from the sales department we see later on are working as well. So, but it's like, all right, let's just kind of immediately get to our work and stuff like that. The first thing I immediately notice, and I think it's kind of a cute thing, is you see that she still has that cup that was a gift, from Kamigawa in episode 3. And she made that whole stink about like, oh, she'll use it as a toothbrush holder. But then she smiles, but then we see like she has it on her desk, so she's keeping it there at work. And Kamigawa doesn't even like comment on it. He just looks at her drinking from it and he smiles because it's like, right. Of course, you weren't nice knowing that, for one, she was kind of reluctant to get it, but, say, oh, I'll use it as a toothbrush holder. But not only are you using it, you're also not using it as a toothbrush holder, you're using it at work. So glad to see it means something to you. So once again, I love that. Like, he doesn't say anything because he knows she'll probably get a little flustered by it. So it's like not even bringing attention to it, just kind of letting it be. So. She also gets on his case about the fact that he's wearing like regular dress shoes. But she's like, right, they make like water resistant like dress shoes too. Like, you should have a pair like that and prepare for a situation like that. And he's like, right. But then immediately when they're about to head outside, she's like, crap, I don't have my umbrella. I was literally chastising him about his shoes, and I'm the one that doesn't have my umbrella. In fact, he has one on him and he's giving it to me. And on top of that, he also has a spare one that he keeps in his bag too. So it becomes that, it's like, oh, one step forward, two steps back situation where she just felt like, I was kind of the well-prepared, knowledgeable senpai passing down my knowledge. And oh, wow, he ended up being more prepared. In fact, even more prepared than me. So it's almost like I got 1 point. He kind of got 2 in this regard. So they're making their way through, and obviously she's struggling because the wind's pretty fast and it's blowing like her umbrella away. And so she was kind of, because he was suggesting like, oh, for her to take it, and she's like, no, you keep. No, right. I think she had the main umbrella. He had the more, kind of the more, not flimsy, but like the not as good one, because it was a more smaller, like foldable one. And she was suggesting he take it, but he's like, no, you take it. So kind of that outdoing each other nicety situation. Obviously, like, she noticed in classic tradition, fashion of like, oh my God, he's putting the umbrella there, but obviously he's getting wet. because he's not fully covering himself because he's more so focusing on getting her more covered, and I think at this point they were both using their respective umbrellas because she was pushing forward and initially he was leading the charge, but then she got in front of him with the bigger umbrella to help, and so they ultimately end up making their meeting, luckily. And everything ultimately ends up working out, showing off the different designs. Kamigawa led the charge and stuff like that. But all Kanoa can think about is how good he is at all of this, how prepared he is. So she's like, right, the only goal I have in mind is when we get back, we're gonna finish up work and I'm gonna send him home early. I still got that in my mind. So they go back and she helps him dry off with the towel. She does as well. And he goes to get get them something hot to drink. And I love that she's like, oh, he shouldn't leave his coat there because it's going to get wrinkled. And she's like, how do I hang this up? It's such a big coat. And just for whatever reason, just being who she is, she puts it on and she's like, it's so big on her. And then she starts like flapping her hands in the wind. And I love that Kamigawa doesn't say anything. He stands there and then she turns and looks at him and is like, of course you're going to get so embarrassed, caught. And she couldn't say anything, but just kind of like, thanks for the drink. And just like, what can you say? You got caught in 4K. We've all been in those awkward positions where we're doing something, we're just acting silly, and then get caught. It's like, what can you do? But just kind of like, you just got to take it on the chin. Kamigawa's kind of enjoying the weather. I guess it's like, really like, oh my God, look at how heavy it's raining and stuff like that. Kind of enjoying it, I guess, would be very kid-like. I mean, I still get like that myself, where it's like, I don't know, there is something enjoyable about like heavy rain and stuff like that. I know it's stupid. It's like, because heavy rain is a thing, but it's just like, I cannot say heavy rain and not think about the Quantum Dream game. Jason, it's stuck in my head because I was watching someone recently play it too. That's why it's even fresher in my head. Either way, I'm putting my massive diatribe aside. She ends up talking about how much of a kid he is and stuff like that. But he's like, well, if I'm a kid, like, what does that make you? You were playing in my coat. And she's just like, what can you really say to that? So it's like, right, let's focus and get back to work. And so they're doing their thing, focusing on work. And she's like, cool. Now that we've done enough, you should go home. He's like, no, I can work more. She's like, no, I want you to get out of here before like any of the trains, stop going. And he's like, well, what about you? She's like, well, I'm going to work from home tomorrow, but I want to make sure I finish everything that needs to be done in office now. And obviously he doesn't want to leave her alone in the office. I mean, she's not the only one there, but at least didn't want to leave her alone in the department. She's probably like, across the board, she probably is the last one to leave work all the time. But either way, he's like, well, whatever you need my help on, I'll help you. And she's just like, oh God, he's so kind. All right, fine. I'm gonna send you off to do this last thing. Once you get some reports from like the sales department, you leave it on my desk and you make sure you go home. And she's like, right, I got this meeting and stuff like that. And she's just like, captivated by just like how nice and good he is. So, but for her, it's like, well, at the very least, I sent him home. But when he goes into the sales department, he meets someone he's friendly with, someone he knew like early days. No, I think it was like when he was searching for a job. I guess maybe this person's the one that suggested this company to him. And he's like, oh, hey, man. And the guy was like, hey, since you're here, could you do me a favor? And then when Kamigawa finishes up her meeting, she's like, well, at least I was able. She's like, right, there's probably no trains running at this point. Good thing I sent Kamigawa. What are you doing here? He was like, hey, I just came back. And she's like, no, you're supposed to be going already. It's like, oh, yeah, I got some extra work to do. And she's like, what? He's like, oh, yeah, like a person like I work, had asked me if I could help them. And I said, sure. And, being the senpai that she is, was kind of like, how dare he? And she storms over and she confronts him. And the guy was very blasé about it. Because, I mean, in his mind, and I was about to say, it's like, well, not that big of a deal. Because Kamigawa could have turned down, like, if he was like, oh, like, if you want me to do something, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. So even he was like, I'm not forcing him to. But then Kano was like, yes, you are. As his senior, as a new junior, he can't turn you down. Like, he has to kind of accept. That's just kind of like the role of a junior. So you knew you were putting him in a complicated spot when you asked that. And it's like, home dude kind of looked like, you did kind of, yeah, that is true. And she's like, do your own work. Because of you, he's now working overtime doing work that's yours and not his. So, and it's like, especially with the weather being what it is, now you're making him work overtime because of that. And he just says, ooh, my bad. But like, Kanawa storms away and Kamigawa follows and thanks her. And she's like, next time, make sure you tell him no. And he smiles at her and she smiles at him. It's like, you guys are so adorable. And then finally, they finish up what they're supposed to do and they're heading home. She was suggesting like they could just run towards the station, but it's like, no, we got to be careful. What was it, her or him? One of them suggested they should just run to the station. I think it was her, but he was like, no, we should just go carefully because like the wind is super powerful. So he's like, no, let me hold the umbrella. He's like, I might be the junior, but I'm also a man. I mean, he's like, I mean that, strength wise. And it's like, I think where I brought it up previously last episode, where like it seems like Kamigawa's kind of starting to take notice of her. She's taken notice of him before, but this is the episode I think she's really starting to take notice of him. And even she's like, right, kind of seeing him in that light because she's just viewed him simply as her junior. And now it's like, no, I've got to like start seeing him in a different light. It's like, here he is, and it's like, oh, you're getting rained on, cover, like you should lean the umbrella more towards you. And he's like, well, could you lean more towards me? That way you're under the umbrella. He's like, I know that's kind of awkward. She's like, fine, and leans in with him. You're just like, oh, dude. Of course it would come down to this. So, what was also interestingly revealed was they actually go on, like, take the same train home. I mean, it makes sense that they wouldn't like know that because he even says like, oh, right, you're usually like one of the you usually leave work after I do, so it's the first time they've ever kind of rode the train. He has to take another stop, but her stop comes up first, and then they kind of say the goodbyes. In fact, he gives her the umbrella, and he's like, yeah, just kind of bring it back another day or whatever, And in return, she gives him, the towel to, at least it's something to keep him dry. So it is kind of sweet when she goes home and she puts the umbrella, and especially like didn't just leave it where it was. She slid it closer to her umbrella. She's like, man, good thing I'm working from home tomorrow because I don't know if I'd be able to face Kamigawa the next day. And even he's like drying off his hair and he's like, man, what kind of like, he wants to get like he's like, oh, I should get like a good fabric softener, something that smells really, really nice so that when he washes it, it comes back smelling like extremely fresh. He doesn't want it to, smell off or anything. He wants it to smell nice when he's able to return it to her. So I wonder what that, it'll probably be I would assume the day after tomorrow. I mean, it depends on like how many days you're going to be working from home. At the very least, it's definitely the next day, which I'm curious what the next episode pick up with that, with them working from home and, reliving the aftermath of all of this. Or will we kind of skip to what potentially like maybe the next day after that, or whenever they do officially go back to the office and they have to return those items and stuff like that to each other. So I'm curious to see how they handle that. I mean, like I brought it up episode 4, at the end of episode 3, I thought like, oh, maybe we get some of the lead up to the Okinawa trip. But it's like, no, the opening is them taking the plane right there, and then 95% of the episode is about the Okinawa trip. So it might be a thing of we skip over the work from home day and then just go right back to the next office day. So, but I'm really curious to see where things take us, whether or not the next goal Kanawa has in relation to Kamigawa works out. Because I guess you can make the argument like, well, it didn't work out in episode 1 because she wasn't able to take him to lunch. It came back in episode 2 and she succeeded. I forgot what the one for 3 was. Well, they accomplished not a lot of work in 3 and in 4. So despite the mishap of sharing the same room, it all worked out in the end. So I think she's still, and even though like she wanted to get him home a little earlier, she still managed to do it. The trains were still running at the time they made it to the station. So I give that in her in the win column. So I'd say like episode 1 is technically the only loss she had, but then the argument could be like, well, since she asked him out for lunch in episode 2, does that kind of make it a net positive? Like, does it go back to 0, or does that strike as like in the win column? So by that measure, like I said, I do feel like she's probably on more of the win column than the loss column. But well, it's gonna be interesting to see, like I said, what the next goal she's gonna have in mind for trying to help out Kamigawa and just where things go in general. I'm also curious too, like, will there be any backlash for like her calling out that guy? I mean, he was very chill about it, but you know, Kanoa's got that like hard ass like reputation. So I could definitely see that kind of being used against her later. But even he probably recognized, like, yeah, I kind of wasn't wrong in this situation, so she was right to call me out. So maybe it won't be a knock against her. Maybe it will. We'll have to see where, like I said, where it all plays out from here. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.